You don't have to be a millennial to be socially savvy. We believe anyone can join Generation Social Media, and your journey starts now. This is the Generation Social Media Podcast by Chatterkick.
Welcome, everybody. Today on the podcast, we are going to be talking about contests on social media. We get this question all the time when I'm speaking or when we have clients come on board, and contests can be an awesome way to really engage your audience, but they also can completely backfire on you, both with rules and with just experience. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. I have Kelsey Martin and Bree Gorman with us, and Kelsey has done both the actual execution of some of these contests for some big brands, as well as follows a lot of the news. And Bree is our ad specialist and also is really in depth with all of the rules, regulations, policies, etc. So let's just start out by talking about contests in general, specifically Facebook. What are the rules? What should our listeners be trying to figure out, like step one? Obviously, there's a lot of rules. So Kelsey, go ahead.
Where do we even start with the rules? I don't know. I do have Facebook's rules, but obviously they're written in the Facebook way that they write everything, which is extremely vague and complicated. But a lot of what Facebook rules kind of align a lot more with like sweepstakes rules, and I don't think people realize that they do say that they require all of the things that require if you do like an official sweepstakes with your company. So you have to say that it's a contest. You have to say the time period that it's running for. You have to say what the entry is. You have to say like who's not able to participate. There's so many rules, but I think that it's so confusing as a business because most businesses are breaking the rules.
Right.
And some people are getting in trouble for it and some people aren't.
Yeah, it's like Facebook sometimes comes down on you on certain platforms and then they don't on other platforms that they own, and the rules are all written in this very professional tone. And it's like, am I breaking the rules? Am I just kind of sliding by? And then you start to look at the list, and the list is not short.
Right.
The list is really long, and then it also goes into sometimes you upload something and Facebook comes back and says, hey, you can't assume anything about a person either. And it's like, where was that in the rules? And so it's like, how do you know where the rules lie and what's going on behind the scenes when they come back and you're like, I followed all the rules and it still wasn't right?
Right. I think, too, when you look at the rules, one of the first things that always stands out is if you cannot figure out who a winner would be in a very, like, anonymous and slightly random way, like very random, quite frankly. You have to be able to pick at random. And some of the functionalities just don't allow you to do that. The first one that I can think of, and this has been the case since we started Chatterkick, everybody, especially in the past, would do those Facebook contests. I would say, share this post to be entered to win. Well, because you can't track the shares all the way through the, to the breadcrumb trail, you can't fully put everybody in that contest pool. And so it breaks Facebook rules. That's the one I've seen probably enforced the most. Pages will get their functionalities limited. They can get what we call in Facebook jail, which basically shuts off the viewability of your page. But let's talk a little bit more about that. What are other mistakes maybe or flags that businesses could think about when they're considering to run a contest?
Yeah, I want to kind of expand on the share, like those words.
Comment.
Yeah, because what we've seen in the last, year or so, Facebook is making a lot more rules when it comes to ads. Like we've talked about this in multiple podcasts. You talk about this all the time when you're going on the road and speaking, but you can't say any words or use any symbols that are basically a part of like Facebook's proprietary like brand.
Correct.
So if you are going to do a contest and then even just boost it for $5, if you say like to enter, share to enter, comment to enter, any of those words, or put a thumbs up symbol on there, you will completely, like, it'll get flagged 100%, like 100% of the time if you're doing advertising. Like, you cannot say those words in your ads. And so if you say those words in your contest and you're going to put $5 behind it, you'll immediately get flagged, and you then do have the huge potential of getting into Facebook jail because you basically were like, I'm definitely breaking the rules.
Especially also, and what a lot of people don't realize is the content you're using is also a problem. So the photos you're using, the videos you're using, the verbiage that's coming out of if you're interviewing somebody and it's in a video or a GIF, anything like that that you're promoting or sharing into a contest of any kind, that stuff also gets reviewed during the review process. Some of
the ads is what you're talking about, right? When the review of the ads, I think that's something that I want to clarify.
Mm-hmm.
And also, can you guys use lingo that you know, but like getting
we're nerds.
flagged,
100%.
like a lot of businesses don't know what that means. Like, what does it mean to get flagged? What are the consequences? How does that impact a business's page?
So there's two main ways that you can get kind of flagged, and one is during the upload process. So you can
Of an ad.
of an ad of a contest of any kind, of a post. Like even if you're uploading a video with no spend behind it,
Okay.
you can just hit the upload post button and it won't go through.
That whole process has gotten just a lot more intuitive than what it used to be. I mean, it was like a 3-day delay and you already had 100 entrants. Like now it's pretty instant. It's instant in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and it comes back and it'll just be like, nope, can't do that. And then there's the other side, which does go into the ads, which is the review. You have to always publish for review. And there's either a bot or a person. You can actually mark a thing that says, please review this by a human being. And then when that goes in, you get approved or denied, and you get an email within usually a couple hours. Sometimes it's really fast. Sometimes it takes a day. And sometimes you get approved, and then all of a sudden you're unapproved because the second filter has come in and said, hey, you asked a question about somebody that you can't ask. You did something that has to do with anything on a special ad category. You did anything that had to do with a contest. No. So there's a lot more regulation, obviously, if you put money behind it, because then Facebook has to cover its butt for what it's getting paid for.
Right.
Including the boosted post, right? I think that's what a lot of people don't realize. We'll get that question a lot. Like, hey, I tried to boost this post, but it's not going through. And it's because that also has to be, it's technically going into the Facebook auction, and it's performing in a similar way to the, if you were to go create an ad in that module in the whole advertising side of things. But what I'm hearing and what I understand is that all of those things, regardless if it's contest or even just the verbiage you use that may feel like a contest, is something that businesses are going to want to watch out for.
Right. A lot of the times right now, Facebook is sending a notification. What happens though is they send a notification in their Facebook words. So it's not going to say, hey, you broke contest rules. That's a no-no. It's going to say, you violated this policy, and then you have to guess which part of the policy that you violated. So it's really hard to learn from that. I think they're getting a lot better at that education part when you break the rules, but it is kind of complicated. But most of the time they come through a notification, and then if it did go through the ad side, then it does come from like a notification and an email.
Yeah, and then you just get a link that says you violated our advertising policies, and it goes through to the entire list of advertising policies.
Yeah, that's annoying.
It doesn't tell you which part you violated, so you kind of go back and forth, and you're like, it's probably this. And then you fix it, and then they're like, nope, wasn't that.
So let's talk about what businesses can do. Like, what would be a very simple way that a small business could run a contest that would be okay, or wouldn't, in your just opinion, set off a lot of those flags? Obviously, all the businesses are different. There's a lot of different variants here. Kelsey, do you have any ideas on that?
I'm trying to think of one. Do you have one that would work for anybody? There's so many different rules. I think running like contests off Facebook and using like Facebook, Instagram, social in general to drive people there you're not going to break social rules that way. And it's the safest, but it's probably not the best user experience, to be honest. And it's not going to help you with a lot of engagement.
The best way I've seen it work is a lead gen ad where you actually fill out your information, because you have to include a privacy policy. Like, you have to include all these things that is already covering your butt. And then you are both staying in the Facebook world, but getting a direct amount of leads. And it's kind of a twofold. You get people who are really interested in your business, and you get people to sign up for this contest. And that's the safest way, I think, because you're covering your butt the whole time. The way they're entering is within Facebook's rules. The way that you contact them afterwards is probably not through Facebook.
Yeah, I like that.
That's the biggest thing.
Okay, so let's break that down for people that have never done this. So lead gen is a form of advertising on Facebook. You can include a couple qualifying questions. Facebook also has all of their general information in their name, email address, etc. And then their information actually goes into Facebook, and as a business page, you can actually download that information on a CSV file and then contact that person. So let's say you're a business and you're like, I want to give away a Yeti cooler and all these gift packs, right? We see this all the time, or merchandise. So you basically would run that campaign. You wouldn't have to spend a ton of money on it, but at least it'd be a lot cheaper than your legal counsel if you get into trouble. I'm just telling you, lottery rules, when you start messing with that stuff, it can be a huge flag for some industries. So you put a little bit of money behind it. The user, your prospect, they fill out the information that you want them to. They hit submit for your chance to win, very similar to a contest. And then now you have the opportunity to go follow up with them.
Right. And the biggest thing we tell people when running lead gen ads on whatever platform they're on is you need to give somebody something to get their information. And so that inherently takes care of that by having a giveaway.
Right.
And so you kind of pick what information do you want to know, because there's a lot of stuff on Facebook about the people following you and the people you're targeting that you don't know. So this also is kind of a data mining for you. You get to you can ask them what gender they are. You can ask them their email, their hometown, anything that you want within this form. And then you have it. You can't use it for anything except data analysis, but it can be really beneficial for you.
Yeah.
I want to talk about, you talk about this all the time, and I always see these like light bulbs go off around the room in your speaking engagements. How do you pick the thing that you're going to give away? We've seen this happen and backfire so many times of, a dentist office giving away a barbecue set, or like just something that just really isn't relevant. I mean, I guess you eat barbecue with your pretty teeth, so maybe they did better than I thought. But sometimes these gifts and these contests are just so irrelevant to the brand. Like, it's not really helping, other than you're getting people who love free stuff and probably don't want to pay for your services or product to get more engaged by giving them more free stuff.
Right. I think that is one of my passion points, because I understand where businesses are coming from. They want that immediate followers, engagement, all the things. And contests can definitely do that. But it also is the intention of that person is just to win something for free. And so if you are giving away a gift that's completely misaligned with the person you're trying to target, you're spending your time in places that just don't make sense. And now what's going to happen is you're going to get all this influx of engagement or likes or whatever you're trying to do. And then it's going to fall completely flat, because the next post you post out about the way that your product works or the fibers that you use for your bamboo t-shirts, they're also misaligned with what you're actually trying to do. And so then your audience isn't going to care, and all the algorithms are going to be like, not relevant, not relevant, not relevant. So there's a lot in that I think you have to be very cautious on. We saw that all the time in the beginning when Facebook, people were giving away snow blowers, lawn mowers, all of these things. And yeah, it got them likes, but now they're trying to reach people on their pages, and literally they're reaching 15 people, and they may have, 500,000 followers. And it's just it's that incremental irrelevant. I can't say that word, but it's basic. Yes, basically, people are just not caring, and you just get really, really quiet.
And the thing I think is really cool that we talked about before we got on here is how Instagram influencers do this well. And while we all know that they're kind of breaking the rules, they do align what they're giving away with the people that are following them and with the aesthetic brand that they've created.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of times on Facebook, I do see that people are just giving away whatever something cool is right now. It's like, yeah, we'll give away a Yeti cooler. That has nothing to do with what you do for business.
Right, exactly.
Unless you sell beverages.
Yeah.
Unless you sell beverages.
Or you're trying to reach that market that would find that extremely valuable. Yeah. I definitely think that there's an opportunity to expand what you're giving away. But the other thing, specifically on Instagram, I think that people do really well is when they curate their favorite things. And they do feel personal. And especially with their personal brand, it's here's what I love. This is the tools that I would use. For us, it'd be here's all the tools we use for photos and videos and all of the things. But I also have noticed some of them, and especially you can tell someone must have taken a class and they're checking all the boxes, but they do the follow trains where it's if you follow me and then you follow these other 5 people and then, you need to go like their last post. And you feel like you're on this massive scavenger hunt. you don't really know what you're being entered to win. And in the end, they're not really checking that. They can't. What are they going to, cross-reference every one of their 10,000 followers? And that's a small influencer. Like, you really have no chance to win as a user on some of those. And as a brand, it just feels a little bit inauthentic.
Yeah, those follower trains and the likes and the comments and tag 3 of your friends and share it to your story and tag us in your story. And it's like Instagram is owned by Facebook, and we've looked it up. The rules are the same, but the Instagram somehow has become the wild, wild west of contests.
Yeah.
And I don't.
There are some really big brands doing this, especially through influencers.
Yeah.
You know, the whole, I'm just over the holiday week, whatever, I've gotten to the Vlog Squad stuff, and it's really crazy. But there's a whole group of people who are doing, follow everybody in this group and then follow all the brands that work with us. And it's like, by the time you're done following the 15 people, then you might be entered to win a Tesla. And it's like, all of those things are cool, and some of them all have good content, whatever. But it's just like, they'd have to hire 10 people to just go through all of these entries, and they're just not going to. And somebody probably will win. They'll just pick at random, but they might not have followed anybody.
Right.
So you just have no idea whether it's going to work or not. But I just think, like you said, Instagram has just become like the wild, wild west. I love some of the contests I've seen on there. The story ones where people have like the frame and you fill out your answers.
Yes,
and tag
I
people.
love those. Those are fun.
So creative. Love the innovation of that. I just have no idea at some point if those are going to start getting flagged or not.
I think it's so interesting that Facebook, for some reason, has chosen not to like use their scrubbers and bots and stuff over Instagram comments. Right, yet. But as it's grown so much, and since they've, in the last, 2 months, decided to really align themselves with Instagram. When you open up Instagram now, it says Instagram from Facebook. So once you start doing that, and then you start realizing that all of those rules are the same, it's like, when do they start applying that technology? And then how does that stuff start going away? Or how does that, because your Instagram caption, there's a lot of words in there, and the content that's just kind of not getting flagged. The biggest thing you see get flagged, we're using that word again, but on Instagram is things that are like sexually explicit. That's about it. It's like, this doesn't follow our Instagram privacy policy.
We have seen some of the making claims about beauty or body that like,
body transformations.
I've seen some of those happen, but I love the creativity on Instagram. I think it's really cool, and I think some of the contests that influencers are doing seem very authentic to their brand. I just don't think I've seen very many brands really get this right, and on Facebook too. It's sometimes people get in trouble for it and sometimes they don't. And so I think that just inconsistency just makes it really confusing for people to navigate.
Yeah, especially if you're a business trying to figure out, do I choose an influencer? Do I do it myself? How do I figure out which platform to run it on, which is going to work? And if the core of that is, I don't understand my audience, it's not going to work before you even get to the rules.
Totally. I do want to go through, I want to just give some very clear like headlines of like what you can and cannot do. If you guys want to expand on any of these, go for it. So like we said, Facebook and Instagram, they have the same verbiage. The catching it is completely different, but this is kind of in, I guess, layman's terms to the best of this article's abilities. But the first one is you have to provide detailed contest rules. You have to make it super clear that there's no purchase necessary. Tell entrants that making a purchase doesn't, like the same thing that I said with the sweeps. Like you have to tell them the things that they don't need to do and make it very clear that it's not a sweepstakes and you don't have to pay or buy or anything, because that's when you get into legal trouble. And then you have to tell them the extent of the contest, like when it starts and when it ends and when you're going to pick a winner.
Must be 18 years of age. And to say, let me start just listing off all the things in my radio voice really fast.
But it's like wild, because if you just do it, it's like the thing at the end of the commercial where it's like blah, 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 blah. When you put that on a post, it becomes so ugly. Like that's what I hate about it. It's like, okay, if you really are going to follow the rules and you're going to make a really ugly piece of content,
or you could probably put a link, couldn't you? Don't you think that would probably suffice if you put a link to like a little landing page, maybe with your terms and conditions on your website?
Totally. And on Instagram, a lot of people put them in the first comment of their post.
Yes. Yeah. If you are going to ask for user-generated content, That's a whole other layer of like, you need to make sure that people know, like, if you submit user-generated content, we
Meaning
will
a photo or a video.
Yes. So photo, video in the comments, or you're asking people to tag, or you're asking them to take a picture with our can of Coca-Cola, whatever it is, you have to let them know that you're going to use that in content, or we're collecting this for this intent and this purpose. You have to be extremely clear about that. And that, again, is another like paragraph of things that you need to put in there.
That includes sharing a story. So even if you're like writing out like how this affected you, like even if it's not a photo or a video or something visual and you're writing out a story, that also counts as user generated content that you're giving over to a brand as soon as you start doing that.
Totally. This one makes me laugh, and I'm surprised that this isn't number one on their list, but you have to make it very clear that Facebook and Instagram is not a sponsor of your contest. But that has to be there, like in verbiage that says Facebook is not administering or associated with this contest. Again, another boring but probably super important legal thing to put on there.
For Facebook, for sure.
Yeah. The next one is exactly what we were talking about earlier. Like, you have to know and understand which contests are allowed, like what actions you can and cannot have people take. Winners are chosen by chance. They're not like they're chosen at random. It's not the third person or the person that we know or the person with the most friends or followers. That happens all the time when people come to. I've heard this conversation a lot. With really early on was like, should we just pick the one that has the most friends?
Right.
Because that will help our business.
I'm sure people still do that.
Yeah. I mean, nobody really knows, but you're
Wild, Wild West.
yeah. That was weird. The next one, no consideration allowed for participation. So just kind of expanding on the requiring consideration to enter. So that's like the legal stuff of making sure that like identifying someone's name or identifying their address and phone number, like you have to make sure that all of their information is legal, safe, protected, private.
Yeah, you're not going to use it for anything.
Absolutely. This is the one that's the most confusing, and I feel like we've talked about this already, but you cannot force people to engage in actions to enter.
So that's basically all the things.
All
Like,
of them.
comment, share, subscribe.
Yeah, we used to be super clever when it came to like entrance when we were doing ticket giveaways, and we used to say like to enter, then share with your friends, so that it said that the like was the entry, and then the new rules updated. And so now we say, who wants free ticks? Mm-hmm. To just not even get into the game of like asking them to take any actions. And it still does just as well. It's really confusing for the end user of like, what am I supposed to do?
Right.
Which, you know, as a business, you're like, well, I'll do all the things and that will be awesome.
Right.
But it just is kind of confusing for people.
Yeah, I'm surprised that in some way Facebook hasn't kind of like made a feature for
Agreed.
Contests.
Right.
Right.
Facebook, if you're listening, I'm sure you listen to all of our podcasts, but like contests
Zuckerberg
are,
is subscribed.
right? Contests are such a huge part of these social networks. And I just feel like some people are really doing them well and most people are not. And it's just, I see them every single day come through, and part of me, I have one of my Facebook friends that does them all the time, and I'm just like, I don't think you have a chance to win that. Like, you're doing that, which is fine, but like the way that they are making you enter right now, I know that they can't track. So like, keep sharing those posts, but good luck on ever winning.
I'm glad that you brought this up because I want to be a troll sometimes and comment on those. But listen, if you see a post come through, I'm going to just say like from Disney World Experience or from a car brand or whatever, click on the page and make sure that it's a real brand and has
Right.
other posts. I see the Disney one all the time by like my friends who have families and kids, and they're sharing this like get a whole vacation by Disney. And if you click on the page, there's
It's not a
one
thing.
post.
Yeah.
And it's the contest post, and that is it.
That's
is
sketchy.
Not legit.
No.
That's where we get into the like Britannica. What was
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
seriously, you got to check to see where those things are coming from. And luckily, a lot of those are not asking. Some of them are not asking for your personal information, but you have no idea what kind of like technology is behind those. But go make sure that the page is legit and that what you're sharing is real. It happens all the time.
Right.
And with all the stuff that Facebook's done with political and special ad categories, like verifying people's Facebook pages, and like you have to enter all this information to like verify your identity and stuff, like they're letting contests go with just rules and bots that are checking it instead of making a feature where you enter your information, they'd make sure you're a valid
Right.
Facebook page, and like then they probably get more revenue from that. It seems like a win-win.
Right. The last one is running it from a page that's legit, not on a personal page, on a business page that is real. So those are that's the breakdown in real person's language.
real person speak.
You can go look at both Facebook and Instagram policy, but again, it's really confusing to figure out
And if it's
you're in the rules or not.
if it's confusing for us, like confusing for
Yeah.
somebody who is listening to this podcast to try to get help, like
Right.
it's hard to listen, like read those.
The other world that we haven't talked about that's included in like Facebook groups is a whole other thing. Both of these pages say, like on the Instagram and Facebook side, but they both say for business pages, groups, and events. So I'm assuming that these rules are supposed to carry all the way through those, but like more so Wild Wild West and Facebook groups right now than there
Right.
is. And I'm so surprised that some of those platforms like comment sold in the boutique land of Facebook groups. I'm surprised that that's still a thing and that that's going through like Facebook's privacy rules. But those groups are killing it with contests. But I'm just so surprised that they were allowed to do that and they haven't gotten flagged. We should pick a different word.
We gotta find a different word for that. But
Get in trouble?
yeah, get in trouble, get a no button. The other thing is like when you're in those groups that are doing all the deals and sharing all this stuff. I mean, we're all a part of those where it's like, here's where the discounts are, or here's where my friend who buys all these clothes every day sells her clothes she's not using anymore.
Right.
And she's not doing it on Facebook Marketplace. She's doing it in a group. And it's just very interesting.
Yeah, I think, as a business, if I were to give them just 2 takeaways, we've shared a ton of information today. Some of it, we like to mix it up, right? So some of it's a little bit more technical, some of it's a little bit higher level. But if I would give 2 tips and takeaways from our conversation today, I think the first is follow the rules or consult with your legal counsel. And I know for small businesses that's hard, but I promise you, like this, you are getting into some big rules here. If you start giving away and you're a big enough brand that you may just get noticed. And then the other would be make sure it's a good experience for both you and the person that you're showing this information to. And that means, does it add value to their lives? Does it entertain them or give them something that you really feel like your brand is aligned with? And I think if they stay in those 2 categories, hopefully they can run contests and everybody is good to go.
I love that second one of like making sure it's a good experience because we touched on in all of the things that we shared, but the good experience for the user and the good experience for you that you're not going to have to go chase all of these profiles down and tally up whether they followed all the ones. Like, I mean, really think about how you're going to analyze and pick a winner. There's some really cool tools out there. Like, what was it called? It was by Fanpage Karma. It's called Like Fairy or something, and you could put the post in. It would pick anybody who liked. There are tools out there that will help, but really think about that experience when you're going into setting the contest up for sure.
Yeah, the other thing about experience is the relevancy, and we talked about that a little bit in the beginning, is that if you run this and then afterwards it's not relevant, you're shooting yourself in the foot because relevancy is like the weird third cousin of Facebook that can tank your posts and your ads and your boosted posts at all. If you screw that up, then no one sees anything you post.
Right. And
Even
that's
if that
a bummer.
contest went so
Organically or ads. I think that's what everybody's trying to deal with right now on these platforms. And I see Instagrammers all the time complaining about like, well, it's Instagram's fault. All my content isn't getting shown to people. And first of all, don't say that on your post because that just feels like, well, I'm seeing it. So I'm not someone special. Right. And 2, like, just don't blame the platforms. Like you are on these platforms as a publisher, as a media, or as a figurehead. Right. So just roll with the punches with this stuff.
Totally.
The dreaded algorithm.
Okay, so I want to end this podcast with this question, and it's the most important question. Have you guys won any contests on Facebook?
Never.
Ever?
I don't even know if I've known anybody. Like, of all the people, do you even know one person in your circle that's won something on Facebook?
I do because we used to pick them all the time.
Oh, true.
Locally,
okay, that's true. Local people.
Yeah, I know
you're
a lot
right.
of local
and
people.
we've done good contests for our brands and businesses, and we have picked winners. But I'm talking about
like the big ones.
Anything that's national or
We gave away a trip to Vegas.
Oh,
We gave
yeah.
away trips like all over the place. I mean, but yeah, I've never won anything. Also, I just don't enter a lot of them
That's
because
true.
I
That's
think
probably
that
why
there's just, like, no
I don't
way.
win.
Have you?
No, I don't know anyone. I am a victim of my friend tagging me in a lot of ones on Instagram because she needs somebody to tag.
3 people.
She needs 3 people, and I'm just always like, no. But I don't even think she's ever won anything, and she's tagging me a couple times a week and stuff. I'm like,
wow.
That's not even relevant to me.
The ones that make me nervous are like entering pictures of your kids. Like those just make me super nervous. And I have a lot of friends and family who do it, but I'm just like, what are they doing with that photo? Like, I don't know.
Where are you signing though? Is that automatically consenting to them using an underage person by entering that?
So to be fair, my son's picture was requested by a large brand. It wasn't his face. He was swimming, and so it was like the back of his head. But it wasn't in a contest. It
Your
was
children
just,
have been in a lot.
my
of our
kids
content.
have been in a lot of stuff, so they're fine. They have some credibility.
Need to start getting paid for that.
All right. Well, I think this has been really great. I hope we gave people some information on contest, especially updated for 2020. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us on all of our social media accounts. Our handles are @ChatterKick. Thanks so much.